today's topic. So today I wanted to talk about the fact that my brother died. Let me just say that. Let me just get it out there. And although he's technically my god brother, we were born around he's 3 years older, but we were raised pretty close. My father is his godfather and his mom is my godmother. So on both sides, we family, right? And my brother was an incredible individual in terms of he had this infectious laugh. And he really just made things fun, right? And so, my brother died on February 3rd, 2023. And I've been, processing what that is. I guess I've just been going through the motions. But, this time around is different than the last time. I have better understanding. When my son passed, it was a whole different ballgame. First of all, I was 25 years old when my son passed. And my son had been sick, yes, but we had been praying for healing and just doing everything we could to ensure that he had a different outcome. And so when my son actually passed, it, as much as there was peace, it definitely hit me hard because my son was my whole world back then. And what I didn't realize is my whole identity was wrapped up in him, wrapped up in being his mother, wrapped up in being the person that took care of him, the provider. And so I didn't really know where to go or what to do when I lost my son, because I lost my apartment, I lost my everything. I lost so many different things that it felt like I was starting from scratch again. Now, I have not, with the exception of one other funeral, which was at the time one of my good friends, her mother had passed. And I have not been to any other funeral. It's I just don't do funerals. And I know that sounds so funny, but what I've learned going through the process with my son is that the grave is the grave. That's where the dead are buried. That's where those who aren't coming back are buried. And that's just the body. That's just the flesh. That's not even the spirit, right? And so when I think of trees and I think of how my son's school planted this tree for him in his honor, and it has grown, I've watched this tree grow. It has grown tall. It has grown beautifully. It is amazing structure that I'm why do we put so much emphasis on something that's dead, the dead things that can't grow? Memories are life. Memories live on. Memories are those things that we have that connect us to the person, remind us of good memories of the person. And so I'm not one for graves. And I feel funerals should be celebrations of life. We celebrate the person for who they were. I don't necessarily believe it's a time, although it is sad, I don't believe it's necessarily time for sadness unless it was a senseless murder or all of that. I understand there's so much more emotions that go into it. But in the two experiences that I've had, it's been illness related. And in that case, I'm there is a joy that the person that was ill is no longer suffering. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, get over it. And because a lot of people did that to me, I'm not going to say that. But I will say is through this process, what I realized and recognized is that there's so much more when we allow God, allow our spirit to connect with what's happening around us, to connect with the beauty in nature, to connect with the world, to connect with being at peace amidst chaos, to really take the time to slow down and process what's happening. Instead of the hustle and bustle of life, instead of like, let's just get back to schedule, instead of doing things that no longer serve us, we should be focused on doing the things that not just make us happy, but bring us joy, bring us peace. Like, I remember, and I say all this because I remember one of my last conversations with my brother, and my brother was, like, he worked a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was one of those ones who's like, bills gotta get paid, I gotta work. I can't stop working because, like, bills don't get paid if I don't work. And I would often remind him, I'm like, sir, if you keep working like this, like, you could fall ill, and then what? Then you can't work. Who pays the bills then? Like, it's the same thing. It's so interesting how, as a society, we have forced ourselves to believe that we have to work to pay the bills. But God forbid we fall sick or we die because we're trying to pay these bills. Then what happens? The bills still go. Like, the companies are still going to send the bill. But our health, that deteriorates depending on how well we take care of it, depending on how well we manage stress, how well we're eating, how well we're sleeping. Oh my gosh, sleep is so crucial. And we don't even recognize that when God said our bodies is a temple, we're supposed to take care of it. That means we're supposed to take care of our bodies better than we take care of the car, better than we take care of the house, better than take care of, like, each other. Like, we are supposed to steward over our bodies. We're supposed to ensure that what we put in our bodies, what the fuel that's going in, the things that we do, stretching, exercising, having fun, like, all of these things are so that we can pleasure our bodies in really cool ways. But when, for example, let's use a car. When you have a car and you put in the wrong gas, you never get an oil change, you never keep up with the maintenance, eventually that car breaks down because we did nothing to maintain it. We did nothing to keep it in good standings. We ignored all the red flags of what was happening with it. It's the same for our bodies. And unfortunately for my brother, that's something he couldn't see. He just loved to work. And yes, passion. He was passionate about what he did, but it was also a money thing. And when it comes to making things a money thing, we then ignore the beauty around us. We then ignore the life that we get to live on this earth. Like, I've been hearing a lot lately, there's this analogy that, like, would you give up your life for $1 million or even $10 million? Like, would you say, hey, give me this money and I will give you my life? Like, I will be in like, they will be in sickness or whatever. And when you ask anybody, they say, no, why would I do that? Why would I take on sickness for money? And without realizing, that's exactly what we do little by little when we head to our 9-to-5s or we build a business, because business is lots of work. And that's exactly what we're doing. It's the same thing, the same mentality, the same type of unreasonable requests that we make of ourselves on a daily basis. But it's because it's not all at once that we can't see the bigger picture of what's happening. And so I made it a point that when people die, unfortunately, I don't go to funerals. I will celebrate the person for who they are. And I get that it's a moment to celebrate with other people, but it really has to depend on who it is. Like, I went to my brother's funeral, but that's also because I was a part of it. As a poet, I went and I spoke and I read a poem that was pretty comforting, right? And I had no problems helping with, like, the behind the scene things, putting things together, being organized, being logical. Okay, you need this, you need this, you need that, right? But when it comes to, like, visiting graves and other things that people do, for me, I'm like, I just don't feel like that serves a purpose. I'm not getting at nobody who does. Like, that's your own business. But I'm like, for me, like, I want to celebrate where the person would have gone. Like, I want to celebrate, like for my son, I celebrate in the foods he would have eaten, in the movies he would have watched. Like, those are the things that I celebrate with. And it's brought me so much more peace than going to his grave ever has. Now, I do visit his tree. And I guess you could say one for the other, but the cool thing is about his tree is that it grows. And I see it in different seasons. I see it in winter, I see it in spring, I see it in summer, and I try to see it in fall. I've seen this tree in its seasons. I've seen it growing. I've seen it tall. I've seen it grow faster than any other tree around it. Like, I've witnessed how beautiful this tree has grown. I get to witness the process of a tree from like infancy to growing up. So for the last 9 years, I've gotten to celebrate this tree and all the life that it brings, and it brings oxygen for all those around, and it's been an amazing like monument for me and for people who get to be around it, and a dedication to my son versus the headstone that I placed or that I designed. It just sits there. There's nothing that changes in that space. There's nothing that is there's nothing that changes in that space. It's all the same. And so when I think about and look at this world, and when it comes to grief, when it comes to managing expectations, I think we have a duty to look at the beautiful things in life and not feel weird at the fact that we don't want to take part in some of the darkness, but looking at the colors and saying, hey, how can I be more colorful? How can I rest more? How can I be more a part of the good things that's happening instead of closing myself off and just being with what's negative? The love we have for our loved ones cannot compare to anything else, honestly. Grief and death, it's such an interesting concept. We don't all grieve the same. We don't all grieve in 5 stages. We don't all grieve in time. It's the decisions we make during those times that really help us to be free, really help us not to succumb or not to feel suppressed by grief, honestly. I think this time around, or I know this time around, I've actually processed the loss of my brother so much differently than the loss of my child. Now, I have different facts and different information, but grief does not have to be this dark shadow that doesn't leave. To grieve someone is to mean that you care about them. It's to mean that you loved their life and that they were important to you. How often do people grieve celebrities, or people grieve the things that are around us? It's because we are grieving something that we know we're going to miss, something that we know was no longer here in the physical. But in terms of the memories, that's what we have to hold on to. In terms of the idea of who that person was, or the laughter that we had, or the joy that they brought, like, that is the things that really help us move forward, help us not to stay stuck, and help us just to really take advantage of the fact that life, like I said, life does not have to be dark and gloomy. We can get through grief. We can get through the heaviness of it. We can experience joy. There's this thing that I came to understand, was that I could experience joy and sadness at the same time, sometimes, and it was absolutely okay. There was no rule that said I had to be sad for this amount of time, this amount of days, this amount of moments. Like, I was able to do both. And so, as I finish off this topic about death, about grief, about my brother, I honor the person who he was. I honor the laughter that he had. And I honor the times that we got to spend together. I think that's the best thing I can do going forward. For my son, I literally honor him with the book that I wrote and how I choose to live every single day, despite him being here. I could have given up, but where would I be if I did? Like, I think of all the people who've been inspired by the words that are spoken, inspired by his story, inspired by the faith, and I think about, well, that would all have gone to waste had I had chosen not to move forward in love, in peace, in joy, and not to move forward in finding healing. At the time, it really didn't feel like it would end. The pain of it really felt so far, from my son at least. And now with my brother, I'm so much more peaceful. Because as sad as the situation is, I honestly will cherish just the good times. The very, very good times. So that's the word for today. That is the topic for today. And I'm excited for you to join me for another conversation. Have a good day. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Lips and Language podcast. My name is Kola. I am so excited that you are here. If anything I said today resonated, then get in touch with me. I have an amazing mentorship program. It is for those who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, going through grief. It is truly an amazing time. If you want more info, hit my website, lipsandlanguage.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can hit it up on the website or DM me. I have a free gift for you, and I would love to be in contact with you. Whatever you decide, just know that healing, it looks good on you. And I'm so excited that we get to do this journey together. Have a blessed day. And if nobody told you, I will. I love you. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. Peace.